Hi, this is Sarah Nance, and this is my ePortfolio highlight video for Fort Hays State University. So to start here, I have my candidate info, my introduction video that I recorded a few months ago, and my personal and professional goals. A little bit about myself. I'm currently an English teacher at Eagle Crest High School in Centennial, Colorado. It's a suburb of Denver. Been there for 9 years. I teach freshmen and AP Lang for juniors. I have also coached volleyball, sponsored National English Honor Society, and I currently lead the 9th grade PLT team at Eagle Crest. So it's been a rewarding experience. I'm from the area, so it's great to be working in the community in which I grew up. So a little bit more going on through here. My leadership philosophy changed over time. I think it always should be. So here's the most up-to-date version. I kind of based my leadership philosophy on 4 tenets. First one being authenticity, being open, honest, vulnerable. I think that really builds a lot of credibility and trust among a staff, with students, and then of course in the community as well, parents, etc. So being authentic, being goal-oriented and results-driven, so letting the results and achieving our goals guide a lot of the decision-making processes at the school, I think is important. Also collaboration. I've done a lot of professional development and trainings, really reinforce the power of collaboration, and I think it's just something that is unavoidable in the best way possible. So it would definitely be part of my leadership philosophy as well. And then finally, finding ways to cultivate leadership in other people. Decentralizing leadership whenever possible. I think again that really boosts morale and makes people feel like they're wanted in the school and in the community. My program of study is here. I started my program in the summer of 2017, and I'm just finished up with a finance class. So I put the classes in red that I took in the fall, yellow for the winter and spring, and then summer in green. So it's all there to go back through it, all of my courses that I took. My current resume, up to date with some leadership hours in there, and this is actually the same one that I used when I applied to be a teacher at Eagle Crest, and of course I update it very often, but kind of the bones are still the same, so it's kind of interesting to see how it's changed over time to reflect my current position. Annotated bibliography. A couple topics. I really like the flexibility of this part of the portfolio, being able to pursue and peruse different articles, both on the free web, from credible sources, and then also from peer-reviewed research studies. I'm really interested in a couple of topics as a leader, ironically enough, e-portfolios, and working beyond standardized tests to show growth in students. I'm really interested in John Hattie's effect sizes on student improvement. I teach at a very diverse school. Eagle Crest is incredibly diverse, so equity has been a lot of my background as a teacher and now as a leader, getting some hours at Eagle Crest. So that those issues are always at the forefront of my mind when thinking about how to make decisions for students who might not, be at an all-white school. Walkthroughs and evaluations as well, just kind of a whole range of topics that I really enjoyed spending time reading and then writing about. All right, so I just thought I would go through my district, elementary and secondary activities. All the slides are there. They completely align with what I've logged, but given the time, I probably won't be able to get to go over every single one, so I'm obviously just going to highlight my favorite ones, the best ones, the ones that made the biggest impact on me as a future leader. So to start with the district activities, one of the best things that I did throughout this entire time earning hours in the last years was a recent board meeting I went to, which was in November of 2018. I had chosen this one specifically because they, you can see the agenda for the next meeting, and they posted online. So I specifically chose this one because students at Eagle Crest actually presented at this board meeting, kind of a state of the school, along with another high school. The superintendent spoke as well, which was kind of nice to see him in a different role, kind of appealing to the board members, which was kind of cool. And then I had the opportunity to, we went over some budget stuff, some financing, some fiscal reporting, and so it says it right there, the fiscal report. And then I had the opportunity to interview the board president, Dave Willman, and kind of ask him some questions about his background. And I think the most fascinating thing about that interview was that he actually has no background in education. It's solely as a parent in the community, and he's a small business owner. So he is the president and doesn't have educational background as far as a profession. So I thought that was really interesting to talk about. All right. Large chunk of my hours comes from this opportunity with Dr. Tom Meany. He's contracted through our school district to come and talk to our district. So I went with the other principals to his presentations 4 times throughout this year is when we participated in this particular activity. And it was really, he worked a lot with Rick DeFore before he passed about creating schools as PLCs and how that can benefit students and adults as well. So I attended with the principals about how to be leaders of change in the PLC cycle. And it was, quite an honor, honestly, to be invited to these sessions, and I learned a lot, and that's why I made them such a big deal in my portfolio. So that's his book, we all got a copy of, and then some slides from his PowerPoint for one of the particular days. All right, so the next one that I wanted to talk about was another training with Dr. Adeyemi Stimbridge, and so he actually brought in community members from Cherry Creek School District to talk about how, the perception that students all, as a primarily white staff in our district and schools, we get frustrated with students when they don't learn and they seem to refuse to want to. And so what he was so good at was, really addressing that equity and pedagogy are sometimes at odds, and we have to find ways to blend the two. And a lot of that comes from establishing meaningful relationships with students, and they'll do anything for you, run through walls for you if they have that trust and that respect and that love, and they feel that. And so community members came in, talked about their perception, their bias, and it's really a great way to kind of rethink how we even view equity in our schools. So went to an 8-hour training with him. Then, stemming from that, Dr. Stimbridge wanted all the PLTs at the high school level to participate in a culturally responsive education design studio where they built a unit from the ground up. And so each one of them needed an administrator to oversee it. And so my administration let me oversee this one with the World History, World Geo design studio. So I was able to kind of offer expertise and commentary on if they were hitting some of those themes from CRE, which was really fun to do. And then finally, another district training from Dr. Louise Cruz, addressing some very similar things. There it is, Cherry Creek principles, understanding where students are coming from and trying to meet them where they are instead of trying to change them to become like this version of the American education system as we might know it, and kind of rethinking about the decisions we need to make at the building level to create change for good. All right, so going on to my elementary activities, I had the sincere privilege of working with Karen Puga, the principal at Aspen Crossing Elementary School. That was the majority of my elementary hours. I really loved it. I went to a small college for undergrad so I could play volleyball there, and I realized when I was in college that that was totally the right setting for me, and I'm so blessed that I was able to have that opportunity. And the school I work at now, Eagle Crest, is 3,100 students with 300 staff members, and it's really easy to get lost in the shuffle. Whereas when you went to the elementary school, it was just Karen in charge of everything, and I really liked that. I liked that idea. I liked how small it was, and she would love an assistant principal. I would love to be her assistant principal, but I really liked the small environment. She knew every kid. They all knew her. It really was a positive experience. So one of the things that she did that was inspiring and visionary, if you will, was this weekly email she sends out to the staff about where she's going to be, what events are happening at the school and nearby during the week, some reminders about when to wear jeans, what dress-up days are what, some questions about equity, some things to be thinking about. Teachers are always reflecting and thinking and asking questions, so some starters for that, and then some quotes and thoughts. She does that every week, and I think that's just really profound and really, really great way to build trust and openness, things I value as a leader. I also had a time to answer some questions. She had some time to answer some of my questions, and some of that was like, who do you hire? And she says she has to hire leaders because she doesn't have an assistant principal to help her make decisions. She's got to have trust in the people that she hires as teachers to help her, with the decision-making stuff. She also really enforced that she hires people who have a love of children, and that really is something that resonated with me, that if we could just get back to basics about why we chose to do this profession, I think it would be to help children because we love them, and it almost simplifies a lot of the decisions we make at the school and building level systemically. And so I have not forgotten that, and I doubt I will. We went over the attendance policy at her school, which is now district-wide, which helps reduce some inconsistencies and questions that parent and community members are having about it. We had 30 minutes at some point during the day, so we created this book fair flyer, and that was going to go out to each student. And then finally, we had a restorative conversation with 3 third graders who were involved in an incident during PE. Kids came in, didn't really have much to say until she flipped around the computer and let them watch themselves on the camera, and then they got real chatty about what actually happened. And at the end of it, everyone was hugging, and I was basically crying because I had never seen little children act so wonderfully towards one another and to her. I'm sure my jaw was just dropped the whole time because it was fabulous. Here's little Gigi's, one of the girls' discipline referrals that Karen wrote before she called home and explained the situation as well. So I love the elementary school. I really wish I had more background in it. I would totally consider applying for a job at elementary should it be available. And then finally, my secondary activities. I have a lot of these. Go through some big ones. PLT meeting for administrators, been to that a couple times. I also went to an ad team meeting. I created a survey for a study center for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. I did this with my supervisor for my FHSU hours. She's also the instructional coach. We sent this to the staff about identifying students who might need more support and beyond 9th grade, which we have a really solid support system in place for them. Survey questions continued and results. Also, as part of a training day for PLT facilitators, I led some breakout sessions on protocols and norms within the PLT. And so we both planned for this day and then presented on the training day for all the facilitators. So that took up a good amount of time. Good to be a leader of leaders. Part of the UIP 100-day plan. Did a teacher observation with my sister at Arapahoe High School. She's an activities director there, and I spent some time this spring break with her, and one of the things we did was a teacher observation for an art teacher. Also visited the RTI model we have in place at our school in Colorado Springs where it first started. And so a lot of great learning came from that day. So the agenda and the email that went out about the coordination of that is provided here. I was part of a budget meeting at Laredo Middle School. I also spent some time in our dean's office learning more about policy. And one of the policies we have is very, very strict attendance policy. So these are kids who are actually late to class getting passes so that they can head up to class even though it comes with a 30-minute detention. Discipline codes that I put in when I did some log entries, again, more of our attendance plan. I was part of a hiring committee for an interventionist. I also spent some time looking at the master schedule for Arapahoe High School with my friend Angela. And then I was also part of some Warrior Week planning. So my sister is at Arapahoe, and they were doing a community outreach kind of carnival for their Wish Week. They call it Warrior Week. So this is a picture from the carnival from that night. Us in my sister's office that same night, and some email clarification about the schedule given a snow day. Kind of a caustic email that Abby and I kind of crafted together to respond to a teacher who was upset about a math placement for one of his students on his caseload, to kind of handle some, handle some of those issues together. It's kind of interesting. Another survey that was given out to our staff about equity and observed experiences of ourselves and of students, and then made a presentation to present to the staff on the results, kind of some good learning from that. And I went to an ad team meeting, and then finally another conversation about instruction at Laredo Middle School with a video to go with it. All right, so as I wrap this up, I just have my reflection left. And my reflection, I really wanted to focus on when I was writing it, the maintenance of positive relationships with kids. I think sometimes you step into an administrative role and you only get to talk to the bad kids. And so learning about and seeing firsthand about how administrators can still maintain positive relationships with students and parents was kind of my point of contention, what I wanted to synthesize and kind of work through, which I wrote about in my reflection. I also talked about decentralizing leadership and giving opportunities to people beyond the administrative team to be leaders. And, I wrote all about that, got some good thinking and learning about that. And then my long plan of study below that for all my courses, etc., that I've been through, and some things I took away from them in terms of the standards and just the impact it would have as a future leader. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciated my time at Fort Hays, and this has been a wonderful experience. Thanks again.